The second round of the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup has commenced in Qatar at the Lusail International Circuit. It's one of the true battlegrounds for the category since its inception in 2014. 5.4 kilometres in length, it's a long one for the ATC, and it's where the cup started back in 2014. On that day, the race was decided by less than a second, and not a lot has changed since. Yesterday's belter clinched by just 0.041 of a second. It was a head-to-head between Seiryu Ikegami, the number 14, and the 16 of Ryota Ogiwara, and it went down to the final corner. Championship leader Ogiwara taking a chance and pouncing and taking that win at the last corner. He held on, he got the job done, and over the line it was your 1 and 2 in the championship, your 1 and 2 in the race. 15 points now splitting them in the championship. Will Sunday's race 2 be any different? Hello and welcome Trackside here to the Lusail International Circuit in Qatar. We are on our final day of the Qatar Airways Grand Prix of Qatar here in the Middle East. You're joining Kiko Giles here, Elliot York next to me, ready to bring you 12 laps of action in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup, their 4th race of the season at round 2, and the championship spicing up now. We're away and running. We've got a bit of a pattern forming. Ryota Ogiwara's got a stranglehold very much over Ikegami, but that's not to say today can't swap around a little bit.
No, good afternoon to everyone. Straight away I've done it.
Well, hey.
The curse. Yes, afternoon here, and different conditions for these riders to deal with compared to yesterday as well. The sun was setting yesterday when we went racing here in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup for race 1 of the weekend. Scorching temperatures. We arrived at the track around about an hour ago, and both of us mentioned, didn't we, just how hot it felt compared to yesterday especially. But these riders have been out there in these conditions a couple of times already this weekend, both in qualifying and in practice on Friday, so they're going to be used to it, so that's not going to be too much difference there, but different compared to yesterday, so that's an added little bit of extra to think about coming into this race. But what a race we had yesterday between the top two, the standout riders so far in 2025. 3 wins for Ogiwara, 3 second places for Ikegami, and as you say, I won't be surprised if that changes around today. And to be fair to Ikegami, he definitely needs to try and turn the table sooner rather than later.
We spoke yesterday, a gap on the grid of 0.8 of a second between pole and P2. We said don't take too much notice of it. We were correct in that respect, because in the end we had riders from row 3 coming through, Badi Ayutala. We had a great battle all the way to the end. Now normally once everyone's got a race under the belt, they get confidence, they've got everything dialed in. Race 2 should be a corker.
Yeah, we do tend to see, don't we, race 2 is normally a bigger group at the front than race 1. Of course, the riders and team personnel go away and do their homework, look back at race 1 and learn from potential mistakes and where they can improve. So I am expecting, and we're hoping, of course, to have more riders at the front, because that's what we love seeing. That's what's so good about the Asia Talent Cup. You get so many nationalities at the front, so many quick riders making a name for themselves on the road to MotoGP, and hopefully going towards MotoGP, where we see Aigura and Sonkiat Chantra now, of course. So a historic year for the Asia Talent Cup, and Ogiwara and Ikegami certainly making names for themselves, but so are a few others who want to get into that podium mix and victory mix in 2025.
As we saw yesterday, it was a Japan 1, 2, 3 at the front of the field. The first podium from Shingo Hidaka. Keep an eye on him today, Al. I think he looked like he had great race pace, and if he can just get a better start and perhaps go with the leading 2 or 3 riders, he's in with a shout.
Yeah, closed the gap, didn't he? Him and Tyrion Fleming were really, really impressive in the mid-stage of the race, lapping together to bridge the gap to the top 3. And at one point we did have a lead group of 5 riders, but then Ogiwara and Ikegami turned the screw. I think Ogiwara realised that, okay, we've got 3 riders behind us here. I need to push on and try and show what we've got. And in the end, it was the top 2 who broke clear. But yeah, Hidaka really one to watch out for. Debut podium now under his belt, so he's going to be coming into this race with a lot more confidence than he left with in Thailand, even though he had a good weekend in Thailand, of course. So Japan 1, 2, 3. Great stuff from the Japanese riders, with Ayatullah and Fleming also really close to that podium yesterday.
Let's, while we talk about Thailand from round one, let's talk about Thai rider Nopapong Bumpraway. Started from the 7th row of the grid, but because Haruki Matsuyama crashed on lap 1 and Bumpraway worked his way through, managed to get inside the top 7, he actually moved up to P3 in the championship standing. So a good kind of salvage job, if you like, from the number 20.
Couldn't have asked for much more, really, could he, in race 1? When you start from the back of the grid, such a competitive field. Luckily for Bumpraway, that this is a track that lends itself to overtaking. Plenty of overtaking hotspots here at the Lusail International Circuit, which makes life easier, especially this long start and finish straight. Grab a whole load of slipstream down into turn 1. So he did a great job to climb into that top 10 yesterday. But starting from P7, he's going to be wanting to try and get into that podium fight from the off. If he gets a good start, then he's got a great chance of being in the mix.
He was one of those fast starters in Buriram as well back in round 1 at the end of February. So keep an eye on the number 20, head of the 3rd row, and obviously because now he did get the penalty for race 1 only for riding slowly on the racing line. That was a back of the grid start, so because he moves up, everyone behind him naturally, obviously, moves back. So the likes of Badli Ayatullah, who started yesterday in 7th, will now go from 8th place. Let's just take you through the championship standings while we've got a minute as everyone comes to the grid. Ogiwara, who we're looking at right here, is your championship leader by 15 points over Seiryu Ikegami, and then it is Nopapong Bumpraway on Ogiwara. 3 wins from 3 in 2025. He is P1 in the standings. He was P1 yesterday, and he goes from pole.
Yeah, it's not been a bad start today, has it, for Ogiwara, and he'll be hoping to make it 4 from 4. Even Zenmatani didn't manage to do that last year, and we know what Zenmatani was capable of doing last year. Strolled to the 2024 title, did the fellow Japanese rider, who of course has moved on to pastures new on the road to MotoGP. Ogiwara hoping to do the same, and it's his 3rd season now in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. Finished 3rd in 2023, 2nd in 2024. I think you know where I'm going in potentially 2025. Ogiwara will be hoping so, but Ikegami and this rider here, Matsuyama, will want him to respond from yesterday.
Just on Ikegami, 3 P2s so far in 2025. He's 15 points back in the standings, and for Haruki Matsuyama, needs points. He dropped points yesterday when he dropped the bike at turn 6. So for Matsuyama, he can't make that same mistake again. But it is Japan 1, 2, 3 on his podium, but also on the grid for today. Tyrrell Fleming's been very impressive. His best qualifying effort this weekend. First top 5 in race 1, so stuff.
Yeah, career best result, and I mentioned that mid-race pace with him and Ndaka was really impressive. Just lost out at the end of the race, but a great finish for Fleming inside the top 5 within 5 seconds of the victory. We know how strong Ogiwara is here, as well as Ikegami, of course. So yeah, great job done from the Thai rider.
First career podium from the middle of the 2nd row for Shingo Hidaka. We saw him smiling yesterday. He was absolutely elated with that career best achievement. He'll be looking to repeat it today, if not better it.
Yeah, they've just got to get a better start and try and go with the top 3 as it was yesterday. Whoever is inside that top 2, top 3, they've got to try and get a better start and make their lives easier at the start of the race. They don't have to push on in the mid-race, because I feel like at the end of the race they maybe just lacked a bit of grip, lacked a bit of energy potentially as well. So all about the start for Hidaka. He obviously got on the podium yesterday. He'll want to do the same again.
6th place, Sarthak Chavan representing India. He's generally gone a little bit backwards on that grid slot, so strong in qualifying and maybe needs to find some potential during the race, but he's managed to get it over the line. Points in the last 13, so he's a consistent point scorer if nothing else.
Exactly, and his personal best result is a P6 here, claimed last year at the Lusail International Circuit. He'll be wanting to try and replicate that or go even better. Finished just outside the top 10 yesterday, so a bit of a tricky one for Chavan yesterday, but don't count him out of a top 6 running today.
We're going to take a look at the full grid. We've taken you through the front 2 rows. On the 3rd row, it's Bumpraway, Ayatullah and Dakigan. Alfonso Dakigan, 7 top 10s in a row at the moment. Never better than P5. Ayatullah, we saw enough of him yesterday. Fast starter, but needs to find a bit of consistency. And Bumpraway, he will be very much energised about a 3rd row start instead of a 7th row start. All the way through, keep an eye on a very fast start in number 24 of Wirral Chat. He's in the middle of that 4th row ahead of Nelson Cairoli. who will be hoping for a bit of better luck after crashing out yesterday, although it wasn't through any fault of his own. We go right the way through the order to Shiyu at the back, 21st place, but expects her to be in the points running. We're just about to get underway then, the warm-up lap here for the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup, live trackside at Lusail. Kiko Giles here, Elliot York alongside me, as we will be for the entirety of the 2025 campaign. We have had brilliant racing all the way through this season so far. 3 rounds in, it's been down to the last lap every single time. Yesterday, less than half a tenth split in the top 2. Can it get any closer? Dare we even ask?
Well, it can technically. If you look at the times, it can get closer, and we've seen, as you rightly say, all 3 races have gone right down to the wire. We expect it and know it's going to happen most times in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. All these riders pushing hard, starting their journey on the road to MotoGP, and all really, really hungry as well. And Ogiwara, as you say, and Ikigami have been the 2 standout riders, but Idaka was close yesterday. Obviously, Matsuyama, the rookie, starting on his first front row this weekend. He'll be really, really hungry to make amends for the crash that happened down here at turn 6 yesterday. You can see the conditions there, Kiko. We were mentioned that it does feel warmer than yesterday, and it is currently so, and also a little bit windier, so that's also another thing to take into consideration.
Yeah, it was definitely blowing us about as we walked across the car park. Thankfully, air conditioning the exact same in the comms box as yesterday. Very, very grateful of that, of course, but it is really warm. It was like going into a hairdryer this morning, which is useful because there wasn't one in our hotel room, but very, very hot, very, very windy. There is going to be no respite for these guys out on track, particularly down that long front straight, because yes, normally you do get that chance to have a breather down the straight, but not when there's a load of hot air blowing in your face from the air itself and also up from the bike.
What I will say is we walk into the paddock in the opposite direction to what we're, well, in the same direction as the camera's looking here now, so maybe the wind is going to push them into these corners instead of pushing out, so that might help them through these fast right-handers that bring us towards the end of the circuit to turn 15, this left-hander, and then turn 16 where the race was won yesterday for Ogiwara and the race was lost yesterday for Ikigami. Got a feeling we're going to have a pretty similar scenario. It's all going to come down to this final corner. We definitely hope so, and Ikigami will be hoping that it's him doing the manoeuvring or keeping P1 over Ogiwara or any of the others.
We're coming to complete this warm-up lap. What are the action hotspots, the pinch points in this 5.4 kilometre circuit?
You've got to say turn 1, turn 6, turn 10 potentially, and then definitely turn 16, the final corner, as we're focusing on the number 16. Turn 16 was his passing manoeuvre yesterday that won in the race. Will he be able to do it again? Plenty of passing opportunities on this circuit, especially on the run into turn 1 when you're in that slipstream.
We're just getting ready then for 12 laps of the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. Any predictions, Al?
Predictions will be a close race once again. I'm going to back Ikigami to try and make amends for yesterday. Pretty much flawless all the way into the final corner. So let's see the number 14 potentially on the top step. What about you?
I fancy a Dakar for this one. I think he's been energised from yesterday, buoyed from yesterday's podium, so I reckon we're in for a treat anyway here in Qatar. So we're going to go racing here. The green lights are going to come on. When the red lights go out, we will have 12 laps of the ATC, the 25th race here at Lusail, and we are racing already. Good start from pole from Ogiwara, your championship leader. Well, he got it sorted yesterday, and he looks like he's going to get it sorted again today. Ikigami's going with him, and the 21 has come through as well, so a very, very good start indeed from Shingo Hidaka. I said keep an eye on him, and he's come right through, so everyone's safely through turn 1 at the moment, and it's Ogiwara who leads up towards turn number 2 ahead of his championship rival Ikigami, and then it's that fast starting Hidaka, and look who's come through already. Badly Ayutula has done it again, up from the 3rd row. He's already inside the top 4 as we head to turn 4.
I was keeping my eyes firmly fixed on the number 13. He's fast started in every single race this year, and he's not made a mistake again today, up inside the top 4 already. The start he would have wanted, but you can see the top 2 clearing off already. Work to do for the chasers early on in this race.
Turn 6, first major pinch point. We lost Haruki Matsuyama here yesterday, but I think they're all safely through, even if they are one rider has been tailed off at the back at the moment. But everyone through turn 6 then. So Haruki Matsuyama, he's going to have a little bit of work on. He's dropped down to 10th place. He could have really done without that, but at least he's upright and he's in with a shout here as they come towards turn 10.
Ogiwara then, really, really good first lap. Intrigued by the lap times on this opening lap. the second place of Ikegami is really trying to go with him, but yesterday Ikegami did make the move early doors to try and disrupt the rhythm as Ayatollah hangs it around the outside, down the back straight, and shoves it up the inside of yesterday's podium finisher, Idaka. So aggressive on lap 1 for Ayatollah. He's gone from P8 to P3 in a matter of corners as Ikegami runs slightly wide for the fast right-handers.
Yeah, we won't be able to do that too many times. Race Direction will be keeping a watchful, closeful eye on that, so keep an eye on the number 14. Trying to come through, that's the number 11, trying to make his work through. That's Chavan, so Chavan's still up there and not gone backwards just yet. He's held that 6th place very well indeed. This is the battle further back. It's about, oh, we've lost someone. Who was that? Turn 16, that'll be a front end. The wind is blowing inwards, so oh, it's not Matsuyama again, is it? Well, we can't see the number. We can now. It's the number 21, and that, I can tell you, is Shingo Idaka, is it not?
Couldn't quite see who it was. It's Chavan.
Oh, it's the 11. Can't tell me 2s from me 1s. It's Sarthak Chavan who's gone down. So just as we were saying, he was right in there. He's not anymore. He's out at turn 16.
That's unfortunate for Chavan, who was aiming to better his personal best result from here last year, a top 6 finish. He was running in P6 on the opening lap, so that's unfortunate for Chavan. He's trying desperately to get the Honda machine back up and running. He's back up on his feet, which is great to see. When you're getting a replay of it here, just the aftermath of turn 16, I think it's just a classic front end wash away down at the final corner, pushing on the opening lap. Very unfortunate.
You can see how windy it is as well. The trees blowing in the background. That's a shame for Chavan. He was on for his 14th consecutive point scoring finish. He isn't anymore. The number 20 of Bumpravay has come through. That's up into turn 6, so he's through into 3rd from the 3rd row of the grid. So keep an eye on Bumpravay, but look at the amount of time they've lost to Ogiwara and Ikegami.
Incredible, isn't it? Ogiwara obviously probably learned the lessons from yesterday. A little bit too close for comfort, you feel, in the mid to latter stage of the race. He thinks he can pull the pin. He had a 0.8 second advantage over anyone else in qualifying. It didn't play out quite like that yesterday. Ikegami, to be fair to him, is going with him, as several different lines are taken there through turn 10.
How many lines? That was almost like me and you on the PlayStation in MotoGP 24. So what on earth was going on there? The Asia Talent Cup, pick a line. Any line will do. Up through turn 11 and through the fast rights again here. This is where the wind is just going to catch you out one way or another as they come through 13. Next up 14. You can see Ayatollah really struggling to pull it down there. So it is obviously windy. Maybe it's a gusting wind as well, El. When we were coming in, it was blowing inwards, as you said, but it might be one of those gusting winds. It could be change direction every single lap, and you can see all the ATC riders in the background running off anyway. That might just be something to do with the class.
Yeah, and they're obviously pushing on, of course, as well. That fight at the front of this group is obviously for the final podium spot at this moment in time, but if they've got any chance of trying to catch the leaders, a 2:10.6 set from Ogiwara, 2:10.8 for Ikegami trying his best, but he's losing a couple of attempts per lap, and no one else, even in the 2:11s, apart from Fleming and Dakigan, who are in this gaggle of riders who are scrapping away. So Ayatollah now 4.3 seconds away from the win as we go about 4 abreast into turn 1, battling away nice and early. This isn't going to help them try and bridge the gap, but you do feel that this is a race for P3 now. Yeah,
I think that boat has set sail. It is Ogiwara and Ikegami. There was a second between them that time around, but Bumpravay's done the hard work. It's definitely not all over though, because he's got the number 10 of Tiemann Fleming all over him. And then behind, the 22 of Dakigan, looking for his first podium here. So that would be a really good result from the Filipino rider. Back at the front, you can see the gap just oscillating a little bit between your race leader, Ryota Ogiwara, and his championship rival, Seiyuu Ikegami. Another array of lines at turn 6, but everyone's safely through. But the pace has really dropped. I just wonder if the heat, it's a lot hotter than yesterday. I just wonder if the heat is having an effect on not just the riders, but also the bikes themselves.
Yeah, good point. And this is sort of the time of day when qualifying was a little bit earlier on Saturday afternoon, and we know Ogiwara was superb in qualifying, held pretty much a second advantage plus over everyone else apart from Ikegami, as Ayatollah tries to climb back up the order, up the inside at turn 10. A popular passing place here on the Lusail International Circuit before it opens up full gas through turn 11 and into turn 12, which is where the 2 leaders are right now. The gap has dropped to half a second from 9/10 of a second on this lap, so Ikegami Ikegami is getting his claws into the rear end of Ogiwara's Honda.
He really is. It's half a second now, as you say. Ikegami's not giving this one up without a fight. Big differences. If he can take a win here ahead of Ogiwara, then Ikegami would take back 5 points. The gap would be 10. If he loses it and it stays as it is, it goes up to 20, and that's starting to crack on for points that are very, very difficult to draw back, particularly when you've lost them so early on in a year. That's Bumproi going wide, turn 16, and coming under him. I think it was Dakigan. Couldn't quite see the front of that machine. No, it wasn't. It was Ayatollah. So Dakigan's actually moved into 3rd place. So fantastic stuff from the Filipino rider. The number 22 is leading the charge for the final podium position across the line. 0.2 of a second between your two leaders, and I can tell you that is absolutely academic by now. 2:10, 2:35 for Ikegami last time out. He's put a super pole lap in to get on terms with Ogiwara.
Fantastic lap time. 2:10.2 was well over half a second quicker than the number 16 of Ogiwara. Didn't quite see if Ogiwara made a potential mistake there, or Ikegami just found a little bit of pace. Is he going to try and make a move at the inside up at turn 4? Not this time around, but he has bridged that gap. It was, as you saw, nearly a second. So if it starts to get over a second, then you're starting to lose touch. So that was a really crucial lap time for Ikegami to dig his way into this victory fight. And now Ogiwara has a fight on his hands.
But I think it's clear that whatever happens for the rest of the year, these two are the class of the field here, Ogiwara and Ikegami. Look at the amount of time they have pulled. That's what 6.3 seconds looks like, folks, in ATC. That is a chasm as far as this class is concerned. These two are absolutely in a different league of their own at the moment. Ogiwara is your championship leader as it stands, and as I said, if it stays as is, it will be a gap of 20 back to Ikegami. Bumproi will be nearly 50 back, and Dakigan will move up into 4th place. But of course, they're in the number 20 and the number 22 of Bumproi and Dakigan are in that big battle that we used to be able to see in the background, but they're that far back now that we don't quite get a glimpse of them. I'm sure we'll have a look back very soon indeed, but they're in that big gaggle for P3.
Yeah, incredible from these two Japanese riders. Ogiwara just pulling away slightly in the mid 2 sectors of this lap, and I can tell you that the chasers have already lost over a second again on this lap. Obviously they're battling away for the final podium position, which isn't going to help, while these two riders firmly into their race rhythm now. You can just see them in the background coming around the penultimate corner. But this is absolutely stunning pace from these two riders. If it goes down to the final corner, then what a race we've got on our hands once again between the two Japanese riders.
I mean, it should be like this as well. These two are the most experienced, some of the most experienced on this grid, so you would expect that in the early stages of this season they have got a little bit more performance. You can see Ikegami pulled out there very, very early, didn't really use the slipstream all the way down the straight, and he's just happy to sit there in 2nd place as things stand. He's probably sick of 2nd place at the wrong time of the race, so he may as well do it when it doesn't count at the moment. 8 to go.
Exactly that, and he'll know where Ogiwara is strong from watching yesterday, from sitting behind Ogiwara for some parts of the race yesterday, and he's now done the hard work. He's clung on to Ogiwara's coattails now, so he's just got to try and stay with him and learn where Ogiwara's lines are, and just try and plot a move at the right time towards the end of the race, if he is still there, to try and hold on to that lead. So Ogiwara, we know, has brilliant racecraft. These two riders both have great racecraft. We've seen that in the first 3 races already this season, and this is going to be fascinating to see what plan Ikegami has to try and beat Ogiwara for the first time in 2025.
He looks comfortable though there in 2nd place. He's not absolutely harassing Ogiwara. We've seen this from Ogiwara before though. He just has those mid-race lulls which just, you know, you can't read too much into, but then pulls the pin with the last 3 or 4 laps to go. This is that big battle for 3rd. Battle is an understatement, I'm absolutely sure. Ayatollah has it at the moment as Bumproi runs wide. Fleming will come through and have a look, but he can't quite get there. Dakigan was up in 3rd place. He's now back to 6th place, but plenty of changing just in that group as well. We have got Hidaka, Bodhi and Matsuyama, so that group goes all the way back to the number 2, that's in P9.
Shout out to Bodhi Page as well, standing in for the injured Ricky Henry. This is the first time he's ever ridden this bike this weekend, and he finished inside the top 10 yesterday, and he's battling inside, well, battling for the podium, because that's P3 just up ahead of him, around a second on the number 26. So fantastic stuff from the standing rider. Watch out for the number 26, Bodhi Page. Remember the name, he's already making a name for himself in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup.
And this is another shout out in 11th place to Mahdi Salem, the the wild card here in Qatar, the Palestinian-American. He's been racing in Spain. He is also an American champion in the 160 and 190 class, and he's on the fringes of the top 10 as it stands, and is is in that group really. He's in the second phase of the group, just that trio behind this big gaggle here. So keep an eye on the number 25, currently in 11th place. He scored a point yesterday, looking to try and get a few more today. But at the front it's still Ogiwara from Ikegami. This is the 26 trying to come through with Bodie Page, and he can't quite make it work this time around on what was a very fast start in Bumperway, who's faded there and down in 8th.
Yeah, has faded a little bit as Bumperway on the number 20 machine. Of course, third in the championship, as Kyuko rightly mentioned earlier on. So important points to be gained here from Bumperway with the top 2 in the championship. Of course, now over 8 seconds up the road with still 7 laps to go. Incredible from the top 2. There is your live championship standings. Expects that to potentially change, especially for Bumperway and Dakigan. And if Ikegami can try and make that -15 instead of -20 come the end of the race, that would be a job well done. But plenty of storylines in this fight for the final podium spot. Fascinating stuff as the top 2 continue to lap over, well, pretty much a second quicker than anyone else.
It's only a quarter of a second between Ogiwara and Ikegami at the front as well, as we pick them up now through turn 11 down in towards turn 12. No change at the moment. Of course, another big thing, and we spoke about it yesterday, Elliot, ATC 2/3 race distance. If there is a red flag, that's your result. So when we get to 4 laps to go, I think that's when push is going to start coming to shove.
Absolutely, yeah. Still plenty of time left for Ikegami to try and work out what he's going to do towards the end of this race. As he said, he's already done the hard work, and now he's just got to sit there behind Ogiwara and try and put himself in the correct position come the end of the race. And if he fancies leading in the last 5 laps, then he's going to try and want to pull the pin. But I don't think either of these riders have pace in hand on one another to do that, so potentially a mistake inbound for one of the two, who knows. But no matter what happens, this is a fantastic effort from the top 2, as Ikegami then decides now is the time to lead the race. He takes the lead into turn 1.
Ikegami hits the front then for the first time. He's ahead of Ogiwara. Ogiwara would be pretty happy to have a look at where Ikegami's strong. He had a good look at him yesterday, didn't show his hand, and waited until that final turn 16 shootout on the last lap. Another thing that Ikegami will be thinking is he will know via his pit board that he's on his own with Ogiwara. Now, when you need to take big points, there's only a maximum you can take if there's a group of 2, and that's going to be 5 if you're in that lead battle, which is going to be in Ikegami's mind if this continues all the way through the year. He's got to win these head-to-head battles whilst he can.
Yeah, of course, it will be a 10-point swing, not a 5-point swing, as I get my maths wrong early on, shock horror. But yeah, 10 points will be much better than 20 points heading to round 3 in Malaysia in a couple of months' time. So Ikegami then leads for the first time. And now we're going to see what Ogiwara has in mind while following his compatriot through this Lusail International Circuit on the final 5.5 laps. I don't know if Ogiwara fancies leading the race now or in the next couple of laps. I reckon he's going to want to sit behind Ikegami. Okay, you take the lead, see what you've got. I'll work out what you potentially might be doing different to yesterday, where you might be stronger, and where I can potentially plot a move if it's not going to be turn 16.
Yeah, up here is always a possibility on the ATC bikes. Turn 12, we saw a few moves yesterday, MotoGP over at turn 14. 15, of course, we've seen that before, and 16, we all know the story there. So there are a few opportunities. This racetrack, of course, was completely designed with bikes in mind. Speaking with one of the designers of the circuit yesterday, actually, that it's the shape of the of Qatar itself, of the peninsula, and it's the first track that was built entirely with bikes in mind, and that's why bike racing here is just a little bit special, whether it's ATC or up in the Premier class in MotoGP, where many of these riders end up in not so long at all. Down across the line then, let's see what it is this time. Ikegami led over the line. Make a note of that for the final lap. We never see riders slipstreaming by the finish line anymore since they moved it back up the start and finish straight. Ogiwara well, he's riding pillion with him down towards that first turn, but can't make that move, or doesn't want to make the move. As we make a very dramatic cut back to P3, and now it is Ayatollah who has got ahead of it was Idaka who I think briefly had it. Fleming did cross the line in third place, but by the end of the speed trap has found himself back in fifth place. Sorry, back in sixth place, because now Dakigan's got him. So it's all kicking off here. We've got Indonesia versus Japan versus the Philippines versus Thailand, and an absolute riot going on for the final podium position.
Yeah, Ayatollah, who finished fourth, of course, yesterday, will be desperate to try and stand on the podium. Missed out by a tenth of a second yesterday on that podium, and you can see there the lap times have closed in, of course, but I mean 9 seconds these two riders have built up over the rest. There's a little bit of contact there heading into turn 7, so we're starting to get a little bit of a battle here. We saw Ogiwara down the home straight, didn't really have any interest in trying to get into the slipstream of Ikegami, stayed out of it, stayed near him, and then braked a little bit earlier as well, so he was very, very comfortable and happy to follow Ikegami, but he is swarming all over the back of the number 14 is the number 60.
I tell you what as well, coming into turn 10 it got very, very tight there as Ikegami took the line away from Ogiwara, so there is absolutely no love lost between the two. If Ikegami, if ever there was doubts that he wants to take a win in this class in 2025, then those doubts have gone. He's riding the wide lines right out to the edge of the curb, but we're getting to 5 laps to go. Sorry, we're on 5 laps to go, getting to 4 laps to go. 2/3 race distance, as we touched on. So they will know that if they have to do it, if they have to force their way to the front, now is the time to do it. Through the final corner, Ogiwara pulls it tight. I think Ikegami was in a little bit deep, but he's all right. They're side by side coming down. Let's see who leads across the line. Looks like it's going to be the 14 of Ikegami. So 2/3 race distance is complete. So at the moment, if the red flag was to go, Ikegami would have his first victory. But let's hope it gets all the way to the end as they're side by side down towards turn 1. But again, Ikegami holds on the brakes.
Certainly does. 0.041 seconds between them over the line. What was the gap yesterday? 0.041 seconds. So a little bit of a rehearsal, a little bit of a repeat from yesterday. This is the replay then up at turn 7. Ikegami just going for the wide line. Clearly didn't see Ogiwara was on his outside. Nothing too much wrong with that, just the little elbows when they didn't potentially see each other, especially Ikegami not seeing Ogiwara, but nothing too much to worry about up there, but just letting each other know, yeah, I'm still here, I'm ready to race, as we get some nice slow-mo shots of Ogiwara and Ikegami up at turn 1 as we close back in on the leaders then, and we have a swap of positions. The number 16 leads the 14. We've said that plenty of times already this year.
Yeah, at the moment the gap would be up to 20 points. This is how it happened. Over at turn 4, Ogiwara's just going to let the brakes off and let it roll, and repays the favour to his fellow countrymen.
Yeah, good move then up at turn 4. Nice and clean from Ogiwara. Clearly got a great run out of turn 2, flicked it through turn 3, and now is Ogiwara pulling the pin. He's got a good sort of half a second advantage there through the second split. It's 0.4 seconds. So Ikegami then, what answer have you got, Seiru, to Ryota's pace here in the latter stage of the race? Is this Ogiwara pulling the pin on Ikegami?
And I tell you what, there's another Japanese rider flying up the order as well. It is Haruki Matsuyama, who's come up into 4th place. So he started on the front row. He's yo-yoed all around in this race here at Lusail. He was down as low as 9th, I think, on the opening lap, and he's come all the way back through up to the top 4 and is staring down the barrel of a podium return. His first since Buriram race 2 as well. So we're coming through turn 15 and turn 16. I tell you what, how many times have we said this? Ogiwara just pulling the pin. I'm very interested to see exactly what the lap time is going to be when they come across the line. Ogiwara sandbagging in the desert, perhaps. Let's see what the lap time is. It's all status quo at the moment in this battle for P3. Dakigan on course for a first podium of the year. Lap time as they came across the line, a 2:11.295 for Ogiwara, a 2:12.0 for Ikegami. 7/10 of a second gap, more or less. That is pulling the pin as far as anyone's concerned. Ogiwara versus Ikegami. 4 abreast in this battle. Matsuyama going to the inside if he can, and he does. Back into P3 where he started. So he's done it a hard way, but he's maintained his starting grid position.
Yeah, I wonder for how long, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders there, all desperate to try and climb onto the podium. as Ogiwara crossed the line 6/10 clear. Had plenty of pace in hand as it gets really close through the fast turn 3, the kink up towards turn 4, where Ogiwara made that move a lap ago to take the race lead. We're seeing a little bit of a response on this lap from Ikegami at the front. You can see in the timing tower there it's dropped to just under half a second between the top two. We are focusing in on the final podium fight. There's 6 riders here, all desperate to climb onto that P3 step, but the top 2 is closing in ever so slightly with 2.5 laps to go, so it's not over yet.
It isn't over yet. All the way back to 8th place in this P3 is Idaka. Bodie Page just dropped off now, along with Brittany and Salem. Salem's just got into the top 10 ahead of Brittany. So we'll keep an eye on all of these battles. But this is the front battle, 0.6 of a second. Ogiwara, very, very strong indeed through sectors 2 and 3. He's going to need to be as well, because if Ikegami has even a sniff, you know he's going to be in the slipstream for that front straight. But I tell you what, Ogiwara looks very, very strong indeed. I'm not sure Ikegami's got an answer here.
No, he looks incredible, doesn't he, Ogiwara? Clearly, the lap times were way too slow for Ogiwara to feel comfortable. He was getting impatient. He decided to make a move. I've got a good second in my pocket here. Let's see what you've got, Ikegami. And unfortunately for Ikegami's sake, he's not able to just go with Ogiwara in terms of lapping him for outright pace. He's going to set a similar lap time this time around, although he has lost a couple of tenths on this lap time already. So we'll get them over the line to start lap 10 of 12, fastest lap of the race for Ryota Ogiwara. Fantastic, a 2:10.1, and fair play to Ikegami, a 2:10.2, but it's not quite enough at this stage of the race to keep tabs on Ogiwara.
Yeah, personal best from Ikegami there that time around, but just not able, not quick enough to get on Ogiwara's coattails at all. That's P1 and P2. This is the battle for P3. Now it's Ayatollah who's having a go at leading that battle. Ayatollah looking for that first podium. The number 13 at the moment has it. Matsuyama was on the podium, as I said earlier, in Buriram, so he knows what it's like. And the number 22 of Dakigan likewise trying to chase down a career best result and a first podium for himself too. Tyrone Fleming 6th, and Bumperaway's just got Fleming, I think, there. So there's a little gap there, but they're all right for now as they come through turn 4. Matsuyama just holding on. Oh, that's getting tight between Dakigan and Ayatollah, but everyone stays on their wheels this time around. We've got a lap and a half to go. Turn 6 is going to be fireworks for sure. If not this lap, certainly on the last.
Yeah, it's been busy all race in this podium fight, but this is where the gloves come off. This is where you need to try and put yourself in a good position coming on to the last lap as the 22 of Dakigan feints a move, shadows a move up at turn 7. We don't see that all too often. Trying to invent a move there up at turn 7. This is line astern through here. Turns 8, 9, and then turn 10 is a good passing opportunity as the 20 of Bumperaway runs slightly wide, but it's not going to cost him too much time. You can get it back online and try and hook it up through turn 10, firing down through 11 and into the fast right handers of 12, 13 and 14.
At the top, Ogiwara has a 0.4 of a second advantage. Ikegami has not given up on this one just yet, so we're going to be picking them up as they come through the final sector, I'm sure. At the moment, Matsuyama doing a fantastic job to make it another Japan 1, 2, 3. How many times have we seen that? It'd be the 3rd time this year and the 2nd time this round. So Japan really ruling the roost in the Asia Talent Cup, but Dakigan looking to try and put the Filipino flag on the podium and do not write off Indonesia's Ayatollah. Last lap time then, and it is another one. Ogiwara versus Ikegami. Ikegami dropping the pace. He took 2/10 out of Ogiwara last time around and is the first and only rider into the 209s. Has Ikegami been sandbagging perhaps as they go for turn 1? He's right there again. We're going to have a grandstand finish.
Oh, we absolutely are, and he got a whole load of slipstream down that front straight as well. He's going about 6 abreast into turn 1 for the final podium battle. Is it going to be Idaka leading the way? No, it's Fleming inside the top 3 as things stand, but expect that to change all lap long. But Ikegami, he was 8 tenths down on Ogiwara, and are we going to get a change for the lead up at turn 4? Ikegami up the inside potentially. No, thinks better of it.
No, thinks better of it. He needs to do it at turn 6 or do what Ogiwara did to him yesterday, save it all until turn 16, but he's going to have to dive to the inside and force that move because he didn't defend it. Ogiwara will learn from what Ikegami did not do yesterday, and I'm sure we'll cover the line up at turn 16. We'll tell you when we get there. This is turn 7 at the moment. No real opportunity until turn 10, you've got to think. Oh, moment for Ogiwara on exit, and that will have have caught Ikegami's eye. He will be very, very interested now as they come through turn 9, turn 10. Does he have a look? No, he doesn't.
Oh, it's all building up to the final couple of corners, especially turn 16. Get a good run out of here. Both riders try and desperately get behind the bubble, get a great run out of turn 10. Through turn 11 we go, up towards the right-handers. Ikegami not close enough to try and shove it up the inside at turn 12. This is turn 12. Next is turn 13. It's all about now for Ikegami if he wants to win this race. Get a great run out of 13. Flick it right through 14 as we now enter turns 15 and turn 16.
Is there anything that Ikegami's got left in the locker? 15 is out of bounds for now. It is coming down to another showdown in the desert. It's Ogiwara riding a very defensive line. Ikegami's going to have to repay the favour from yesterday, and he can't do it. Ogiwara cut his nose off. Even when he leads into the last corner, he cannot be overtaken. It's 4 from 4 for Ogiwara. Ikegami second again, and a shake of the head says everything of what he's thinking as he crosses the line. What about the battle for third? The 21 of Hidaka is very, very wide coming out the last corner. Fleming's in his slipstream, but across the line at the moment, it's a Japan 1-2-3, but race direction will be looking at Hidaka for sure, because he was well out of bounds coming out of turn 16. Bumperway comes home for 4th. Fleming gets in the top 5. Ayatollah takes 6th ahead of Dakigan and Matsuyama, in the end going all the way back down to 8. But what a race, what a climax, what a rider. Ryota Ogiwara, 4 wins from 4. He is a magician.
Pure class from Ogiwara. Maximum points so far in 2025, but fair play to Ikegami once again. A shake of the head across the line, of course. He tried desperately to make a move down at turn 16, but Ogiwara just left it late on the brakes, defended well, and just didn't really give Ikegami a chance to try and make a move. But we thought the race was pretty much done with a couple of laps to go, but what a lap time from Ikegami on the penultimate lap to get himself back into that fight. But unfortunately for Ikegami, it is a 4th consecutive P2 finish from the number 14. He'll be desperately sad about that, you feel, but it's another trophy nonetheless. And hopefully, Kiko, we do get some replays of what happened in the final podium fight.
Absolutely. I mean, the good thing for Ikegami is he's still within a race wins tally, so a mistake from Ogiwara is not yet accounted for, and Ikegami can still take all of the profit if it does go wrong. We should just say on Ikegami's P2, that's the 200th podium for Japan in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup, and it's another Japan 1-2-3 as well, and in the same order as yesterday. Hidaka in the end just coming through and coming good at the end. He's got very good late race pace, and I just don't think anyone outside of Ogiwara Ikegami had a look in there once we got underway on lap 1, because they just pulled the pin from the start.
Super impressive, wasn't it? Literally from lap 1 they broke clear. Ogiwara setting the pace from the front. Ikegami, fair play to Ikegami for going with the number 16 of Ogiwara, who's been on the podium here already in 2023. So Ogiwara, a class act around Lusail, but Ikegami, absolutely brilliant stuff to make it a race at the front, and for the duo to finish 14 seconds. That's right, 14 seconds in a 12-lap race in this class. Scintillating stuff from the top 2. Of course, the podium battle was a proper battle, so they would have lost time, of course, with the 2 leaders. But fair play to the top 2, and of course, kudos to Ogiwara once again. A fantastic 6th win in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup.
Just outside the top 8, it's worth making a note. In 9th place, Bodhi Page. Salem took 10th, so very good stuff from the Palestinian-American rider. 11th for Britani. Chip Wirral 12th at the flag. Kairodi gets it to the flag today in 13th, ahead of Muris and Min Jae, the South Korean rider, coming across the line in 15th place. This is some of the battle between Ogiwara and Ikegami. This was a little bit earlier on, not quite the last lap. This was about 5 laps to go, but it just tells the story of it was a race-long battle. This is on the last lap, as you can see, neck and neck right the way through.
Yeah, you got the feeling there from that replay that Ikegami might have ran slightly wide into turn 2 and didn't get a great run out of that second corner. Ogiwara did, and this was eventually the race winning overtake. Not on the last lap, of course. This was Ogiwara a few laps to go, and this is where Ogiwara pulled the pin, and this is where we thought the race was done in terms of victory for Ikegami, but the number 14 had better ideas, couldn't quite hook up that final corner. Could the number 14 try desperately to stay in the slipstream and get a decent run to the line, but with the line closer to turn 1 than it has done in the past. Apart from last year, there was no way through for Ikegami, who finished a couple of tenths off the race win.
And it means that the 4 races that we've seen in the ATC in the last 2 years since they've moved that finish line up, there hasn't been a pass. Everybody will be taking note for that when we come back next year.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, you want to be leading out of that final corner. Ogiwara has shown it with a final corner move yesterday, and of course defending his P1 position today. So 2 ways of winning the race on the last lap for Ogiwara. He's proved he can do both.
It's very good. He can attack, he can defend. That's why he's your championship leader by 20 points. So very, very strong stuff indeed from Ryota Ogiwara. He was one of the favourites coming into 2025 season, and he's now demonstrating why. We get ready for the results. Ogiwara ahead, this time by the comfortable margin of 0.2 of a second over Seiyu Ikegami, and Shingo Hidaka making it Japan 1-2-3. Ties 4 and 5th, Bunproe and Fleming almost tied in terms of the time across the line. Badly Ayutala taking 6th place, Dakikan, Matsuyama, Bodhi, Page, and then on the second page it will be Mahdi Salem, 26 seconds back, but only 12 off the podium. There'll be a lot of solace taken there from the number 25. Davino Brittani, Chit Wirral Chat, Kairoli, Maurice Minjay, Pratham Tong and Adam Daniel completing the order on the second page. 20 point scorers, Mahendra Hutri and Shiyu. Only Sarthak Chavan, who crashed on the opening lap at turn 16, comes away without a finish in this race. The championship, it is Ogiwara ahead by 20 points, ahead of Bunproe, 29 between second and third, nearly 50 up to Ogiwara. Hidaka, Dakigan, Matsuyama, Ayatollah, Fleming and Chivan, the top 9. But really, the battle for this championship after 2 rounds, it looks like it's going the way of Japan, whether it's Ogiwara or Ikegami. You'll have to tune in next time to find out and follow all the chapters, of course, here in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. First weekend for Bodhi Page, he'll be very, very happy about that. He's 14 points on the board from across both races, so good stuff indeed, and that puts him 12th overall. 23 point scorers so far, all the way down to Chen Shiyu, who scored her first points in this championship back in Buriram in February. It seems so long ago. This is the final lap, I'm going to presume, for the podium, and as you can see, it was an absolute riot. Tyrion Fleming was coming through there, but in the end, oh, I tell you what, Shingo Hidaka, open the throttle and let it ride out. I think there might be a little bit of race direction investigation about that one, but across the line it was Hidaka. I am sure Bunproe, who eventually took 4th by 0.02 of a second over Fleming, will have something to say about that.
Yeah, didn't need a slow-mo shot to see that Hidaka had ran wide at the final corner, but it is a podium that stands at this moment in time. So a Japanese 1-2-3, the same 3 riders as we saw yesterday. The future is certainly bright for Japan, and obviously they have a former Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup star competing and doing very, very well in his rookie season in MotoGP. Of course, we are talking about Ogiwara, who handed over one of the trophies to these riders yesterday. Japan really have some rising stars in the road to MotoGP, and of course in Moto3 as well, in Taiyo Furusato, a former Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup title winner.
As you can see, riders coming to the podium. Hidaka on the right, Ikegami behind the tiers on the left, and in the middle it is Ryota Ogiwara, who's made it 4 from 4, doing something that last year's champion Zen Mitani couldn't quite get done. So I remember another Japanese rider who won 4 races in a row, Taiyo Furusato. What happened to him? He's doing very well indeed, and you can stay tuned for Moto3. The Grand Prix of Qatar is coming your way very, very soon indeed. But it's time for the trophies. It's time, this time, for a silver-lined Lusail Circuit for Ikegami. He might just leave that one here. He's already got one from yesterday.
Yeah, he might hand it to a family member potentially, but he did crack a smile. Another P2 finish, it can't be sniffed at. Ikegami will be pleased with that once he goes away. And to be fair, there's no harm in finishing second behind Ryota Ogiwara, and the combined gaps between all the race winners has been less than half a tenth this year. So time for the Japanese national anthem, Kiko. A mega ATC race 2 just before we see the highlights. El, what a race, what a series we've got on our hands in 2025. Yeah, another fantastic weekend of Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup action. Nothing between the top two in terms of the races again this weekend. Fantastic racing and great for Japan to get a double, triple podium finishers. Fantastic again, can't wait for the next round in Malaysia. Of course, Yukikuni standing there alongside your podium finishers as well. We'll be back later on in the year. The third round comes from the Sepang International Circuit, but not alongside MotoGP. That'll come later on in the year. So very, very excited already to see what the rest of the season has in store.
Which means that everyone has a rest from us, because we won't be there either, much to our disappointment. These were the highlights from race 2 in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup, the 4th race of a mammoth 2025 campaign, and the race start really was a replica from race 1, really. Ogiwara getting the whole shot from pole position ahead of Ikegami. P1 and P2 in the title, P1 and P2 at turn 1 in race 2. Sarthak Chavan did not quite see the end of lap 1. He crashed out at turn 16, so his point scoring sequence of 13 consecutive races with points scored ending in the gravel trap. Little bit of contact with 5 laps to go between Ikegami and Ogiwara, both obviously trying to take victory and doing it any way they can. Ogiwara hit the front just a few laps from home, but down into the last corner on the last lap. Well, you can't fault Ikegami for trying. He did try to muscle his way ahead of Ryota Ogiwara, but he wasn't able to do so. Ogiwara connecting 4 in Qatar and really building an unassailable lead. Drama in the battle for P3. Shingo Hidaka using all the track and a little bit more to claim that final 3rd place. But what a race it was. That's it from myself, Kiko Giles, and Elliot York alongside me. We'll be back later in the year and, of course, for all your Moto3 action. But enjoy the remainder of the Grand Prix, the Qatar Airways Grand Prix of Qatar.